Funny. So we were friends growing up, and like we just played and jammed all the time. And we were like, oh, we should record some of this. So we wrote a couple songs and took it into the studio and recorded it. And then a couple of months later, we had a big concert, and a bunch of my friends showed up, and we played all this original music, and everyone knew the lyrics, and they knew my saxophone part.
Yeah.
And it was a really wild experience because that was the first time that I had performed music for an audience that wasn't like in a restaurant with, you know, jazz in the background as background music. So when I got up there and everyone was cheering for me and cheering for us, like that really solidified my career, I think,
really?
as a performer. I got super, just like, I don't know,
super hyped, bro.
Super hyped. It's a crazy feeling being on stage, and that was the first time I had experienced it like that. So that I don't think any performance I'll ever do will ever top that first night with them, because it was my first experience with an audience. Even if I'm selling out Madison Square Garden with some giant artist, I don't think it'll be great, but I don't know if it will compare to that very first time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So
no,
I sort of rode that feeling all the way through YPass, and then decided to pursue performance and saxophone playing and, you know, arranging, composing, all this kind of stuff within music as a career. So, and Mr. Essig was super helpful to me, pushed me to look at Berklee and apply to Berklee, and helped me with my application and all this different stuff. And I sort of knew Berklee was the place I wanted to go, so I applied there first, and I got in, which I was really excited about. But I wasn't super sure about it, so I went and I auditioned at a bunch of different schools. And at the end of that whole experience, I was like, dang, Berklee really is the place. So I had to do a lot of extra work, but I'm thankful for it, because at the end of all that work, I realized that it was really the place for me. And then as soon as I got there, it was just all uphill. So, you know what I mean? It's super fun. My favorite thing about music is the collaborative aspect of it, of being able to, you know, practice somebody, perform with somebody else, and learn from someone else. So now's a really hard time to try to do that, but still trying to make that the focus of everything. It's so funny. Like Tia Fuller, like her whole thing is about the little things in the performance that make it great. She calls it the minutia. Like it's the little things that matter, right? And she is so think about her, because she spent years watching Beyonce, who's a performer at the tippy top, right? Mm-hmm. And she expects the most, and she gives the most, and she's on point with everything that she does. So Tia would come in our ensemble, and remember, she plays saxophone, so she's hearing us work out a little line in a horn section. She's like, okay, tenor sax, you're a little flat on this one note, like you guys got to lock your articulations more. That's a very musical approach, right? Then she would see the lead singers doing their dancing, and she would say, your one little movement, your all's heels are not coming up at the same height during your two-step. So she was she was able to like look that deeply at the performance and see every little inconsistency, whether it be musically, visually. It was a crazy experience. So I got a whole year with her in that context, and then I also had her for 6 months in like a big band context. And both of those things, it was just I learned so much. So I'm super thankful for her and everything that she taught me. So.
Dude, so you were saying a minute ago, you know, you're not playing with Ariana Grande yet, but
not yet, yeah.
You do have some nice placements. Let's talk about Foreplay, bro. That was like right before. No, that was like freshman year of college, right?
That was a pretty wild experience. I kind of got thrown into something, and it took off, and I was really excited about it. And then, you know, so I was a freshman in college, like my second week of school. And I posted a video of me playing along to this song, which is called Foreplay by Jalen Santoy. Mm-hmm. It had this great saxophone sample in it that I recognized by one of my favorite saxophone players from the 60s named Stanley Turrentine.
Oh, yeah.
And I played, everybody was loving it on Instagram. Like, this is cool, man. And then I got an email from his manager that said, hey, man, we actually had to take down this song off Spotify because we didn't get the sample cleared. But on your Instagram video, you matched it so clearly. We were wondering if you could come in and re-record it for us so we could put it out again. And this was really like before the song was like starting to take off. And I was like, sure. Like I was super excited. This is my first little opportunity at Berklee, you know what I mean? So I was like, sure. So my friend Ben Fox, shout out Ben Fox, one of my good friends. He's a great engineer. Went to his house because he lives in Boston. He has this cool home studio. So I spent a good couple hours really listening to the sample, because there's a saxophone part that's just one, and then there's a 4-part harmony that goes during the chorus. And I had to make sure I heard all those harmonies right, wrote them down, wrote the music down, because it had to match exactly the texture, the style, the sound of the recording from the 60s, right? So we go in the studio, we knock it out. It's me playing tenor and alto sax. I have my roommate Everett Kim playing trumpet on the top line, and then my friend Spencer Stevens was playing Barry sax. So there's the three of us in there. So we had 3 people and basically 4 parts. We knocked it out in like an hour, sent it to them. They were like, sounds great. Then a couple weeks later, they sent me the master of it. It was mastered by someone who, mixed and masters for Kendrick Lamar. I was like, this is crazy. And then it went up on Spotify and it started doing crazy, crazy numbers. Like it was, so, but my biggest mistake during that whole experience was I never got the whole like payment situation figured out. Because remember, this is my first gig. I'm really excited. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be really cool and like, so basically we get to the end of the session. I'm like, hey man, I think each of my guys need like $300, you know what I mean, for coming out here and doing all this stuff. You know what I mean? And they're like, look, man, we're new. Like, artist doesn't have a ton of money right now, but if you do his favor for us, we'll definitely get you on his album. I was like, all right, I'll take that any day. So I said no to the payment then and there, and then the album took a long time to come out, and I haven't worked with him since. So I would love to. We got in the studio one time in LA a couple years ago, and we were able to play some stuff, but none of it was actually on the record. So Foreplay is the one song that we have together, and it's his biggest hit. So something tells me he needs another song with saxophone in it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's, it's got over 100 million streams. I'm super proud of it. And just thinking about how many people around the world have heard me play that one little line is like super cool. I heard somebody listening to it at the gym, like working out in their headphones. I was like, that's crazy.
And he was like, oh, that's me, by the way.
Yeah, it was like my first little taste of that. And over my career, I hope to have 100 songs like that are big and popular. I say, oh, that's me. You know what I mean? Like, people dig it. So that, remember, because I just got to Berkeley, I'm learning all this music stuff. It's amazing.
It's a learning experience.
I'm like, man, I'm definitely on the right path here, So now I just got to figure out how to get paid for that kind of stuff. I'm learning that stuff slowly but surely. So because it's a tricky thing with artists, you know what I mean? Visual artists struggle with people getting to pay them. Musical artists, you know what I mean? Everybody in the arts, people want to take your work for granted all the time. So it's this really tricky balance between how do I keep this relationship with this artist friendly and professional, but also how do I also make sure I'm able to get compensated? You know what I mean?
The biggest thing, I feel you. I've been learning about that too, like having my own rates, like how, knowing what I deserve to be paid and knowing my worth.
Absolutely.
And bro, you're always going to have it's always, anytime you confront somebody about money, it's always going to seem a little confrontational, because more than likely it'll be like, nah, like, I can't do that. But then it's like, okay, well, this is my price, and it's always going to be like that. But you're right, that you do have to keep, you want to keep it professional, and you want to help them with their art and their work. But it's a little stressful, but it's funny you say that, because I've been going through similar things recently, just with like engineering, and it's stressful, dude. But now and that's an awesome that is an awesome opportunity for you to like learn about, like you said, you should have asked for payment, but you still have a song with Jalen Santor, so it's like that.
Exactly. And like, even though people will be like, oh man, you totally squandered that opportunity, you could, like, in the end of the day, it probably wouldn't have made me $1 million, certainly. You know what I mean? Right. And also, like, the amount of opportunities I got after that song came out was a lot. You know what I mean? It was really cool. So like, I would have taken that trade any day, from getting that little notoriety from my friends and being like, oh, you played on it, that's really cool. And then getting some traction after that, I think that was worth it. And now I know what not to do. So I'm definitely not going to make that mistake again in my career. And a lot of times people have to have one of those moments like, oh, okay, that's what not to do. And I'm glad that I got mine out of the way early on, So
Absolutely.
And it's really interesting when you record yourself and then you record another layer of yourself, because you can get it to sound like one group of people, you know what I mean? Which is really, really cool. And that's a skill that I learned from YPass and learned from Berkeley. It's so important in music, is the ability for your instrument to blend with another instrument. When I was playing with you, next to you in YPass, we had to make our 2 little saxophones sound like one, you know what I mean? So when I'm playing for an artist, I'm trying to make my flute and my tenor sax and my alto sax sound like one, texture. And that's, I did that in jazz band settings, in all sorts of different settings. And then I'm also doing it when I'm recording for people. So, I'll layer myself a bunch of times. I'll try different little ideas here. And with an artist like Jack, like sometimes he'll pick this, he'll pick that, he'll move this here where he likes it, But the idea is just to give him a bunch of different ideas and see where he takes it, Right. So that's usually my creative process.
Cool.
Of course, on top of like practicing, fundamentals, it's just like being an athlete. You gotta practice your free throws and your layups. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I also do a lot of what's called transcription. So when I'm soloing and I'm making up my own solo, I'm always looking to have more vocabulary, more phrases to play. I think with any creative person, any writer, any artist, they always feel like they're painting the same thing, they're writing the same thing. For me, I always feel like I'm playing the same thing. So I'm always looking for new vocabulary. And for that, you have to turn to musicians that you like and check out their ideas and how you can copy them and then also transform them to make them your own. Transcription is taking a solo, like an improvised solo, learning it note for note, a phrase by phrase, every little detail matters, really learning that, ingraining it, and then taking pieces of it and playing it elsewhere in your own solo. So all of a sudden, this person's vocabulary mixes with your vocabulary and becomes this whole new thing. So I do a lot of transcription. I do a lot of practicing fundamentals, and then I do a lot of trying out new ideas on my own and seeing how I can layer myself differently. What instruments together create this texture versus this texture. It's a very explorative process, and there's always something new to do and something new to play, and that's what keeps me going every day. Is that desire to keep striving and to keep learning and just to keep trying different things. So it's an ever expanding, beautiful thing because it never ends.
It never ends.
It's also very intimidating in that way too.
Yeah.
So.